All right, so we got back into that, and it was getting kind of heated there with the Pitbull prosecutor and Alex Murdaugh, and then they decided to take a break, which I can understand for everybody. But I imagine that the jury might have just wanted to get this done today, Judge. But what's the strategy from the judge? Just, it's 5:30, we're going to call it a day?
Yeah, I think that's a strategy. And I don't know the judge, and I don't know what he normally, or she, I don't even know if the judge is a male, I think. Yes. I don't know what the procedure is. But, you know, even when I was a judge, the court officers, very often there was a union, there would be a union, and the court officers would have to be in their, you know, put their guns away before X o'clock. Oh. And that, it could be something that has nothing to do with the trial per se, but rather with the unions. Who knows? So then
what is it like tonight after this? I'm assuming he'll meet with his lawyers again?
Yeah, he'll meet with the lawyers. Now, they will talk to him, although the jury will be advised not to discuss this case with anyone, with each other, not to read anything about it, not to listen to anything about it. But they will tell him, you know, whether or not they're going to go into any new areas. I doubt they're going to say too much about the cross-examination. They shouldn't. But they will be making a decision also based upon the cross-examination of this defendant as to whether or not they're going to have to go back with a rebuttal witness and whether or not they're going to have to bring anybody else out. The prosecutor, I think, is getting frustrated. He's a pit bull. I think he's good. But this guy, Murdaugh, is a very cool cat. He understands every word that's being said. He's smart as hell. And he's getting to one juror, I guarantee it.
By the way, you know, it's an interesting thing, just observationally. We couldn't do this in England.
I wanted to ask you about that. What's
you're not allowed to talk about cases when they're on. At all. I mean, the papers can't.
Other than the jury?
No, you couldn't. No newspaper, no television show. You couldn't pass any comment during an active trial.
Wow.
At all. The idea that I could sit here is just quite refreshing. I mean, I think it is the right thing that America does, where it's all very transparent, it's open.
Well,
you can talk.
You can move here.
Do you know what? I quite like
Don't invite him.
Yes, we'd love to have you here.
Stay over there.
I think Jesse, he's always asking me to come over and be his little buddy here.
He called me a serial killer, so I don't know if I'm going to be extending that invitation.
I meant that as a compliment.
But
It's one of the nicer things I've heard said about you.
It's an interesting thing. I mean, if you're in this jury, this is a small town.
Right.
To go home, you can't talk about it. You might not even want to, right? You might just want to watch reruns of Friends.
Well, that's definitely something that someone at this table enjoys. Just in this last couple hours or so, did you see one moment where that prosecutor clearly drew blood on the stand?
No.
I'm not sure if I'm a juror that there was that one moment where I was like, wow, he really got him. Or because, as Jeanine said, he's calm and his pacing is perfect. So his pacing in terms of his answers, his cadence, is designed specifically sometimes to run out the clock and to frustrate the prosecutor. And towards the end, it did look like the prosecutor was being frustrated.
Look, let me explain something. This is not over until it's over, all right? That prosecutor, you may think he's losing, but he's getting every fact he needs for that closing argument, for the summation. You know, that this is a guy who lied to a woman who's an amputee, and he said quadriplegic, not amputee, double amputee. And so he can look at you and lie to you as well. So everything that we find in this theater of drama that we call a trial, which is what it is, it's theater, is not over until they finish those summations, and then the jury charges. Oh, there's a lot more to go in this.
I am being very short-sighted, and I would agree with that.
So it's not over until the enormous person sings.
Yeah, that person. that.
See how I fixed it?
Yes, thank you.
Well, then, can I ask you something then, Judge? Because I am curious about who else they would call at this point. Isn't it almost done?
I would think so, but I haven't followed it that closely. Maybe the prosecutor, you know, although it may not be material to the case, may want to bring back a quadriplegic to say, you know, he kind of didn't admit. He said, you know, I stole money, my partner wasn't involved in it, but I don't remember that conversation. And so they'd have to go before the judge, the DA, and say, I want to bring in the quadriplegic. They specifically had that conversation. The judge will say, well, that's not really material to whether he killed his wife and son. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't you just, at the end, don't you just stand there and play the jury the WhatsApp video? This guy said he was nowhere near the scene of this crime. He's appalled. He's horrified. He made the call later. and then there's a WhatsApp video, and he's in it.
He admitted he lied.
Right, but he's in it. He's there when this happens. It happens literally like 4 or 5 minutes later, doesn't it? So what's happened? He suddenly disappears, and then they get killed. It's nonsense. And if I'm a juror, I'm like, yeah, he's a nice guy, and he's saying all the right things. But ultimately, yeah, hang on, he was there.
Right.
Right? I mean, he's there.
Yeah.
Incontrovertibly. It's like it's the opposite of the O.J. Simpson glove. This is like, if you believe the vid, then you believe the did. There we are. I've just made that up. But I just think it's incontrovertible to me that once he'd lied about that, he didn't want people to think he was anywhere near it when it happened. And when it turns out, here's the video, he's there.
One thing that he did by taking the stand was he planted a seed. In addition to creating the premise for making sure that they downcharge, he planted a seed that someone else did it. He said Paul had gotten threats, unbelievable threats, after the boat crash, and that case was coming to trial right away. So, you know, there may be another person who done it. I don't believe it, but you know.
No, but I agree with you. I think he's a very skillful operator in defending himself, and his decision to go on the stand clearly was the right one because we're all agreed he's putting on a good performance. I just think it's all a complete load of phooey, as we would say.
Yeah, well, I'd use a different word, but Judge, if you were the prosecutor in this case, do you like the way the judge hit the recess button? Do you
right
think
now?
Who did it favor the way it was stopped? Like if you were the jury, would you be happy with that stoppage?
I think it favors the prosecution because they can go back and look at what they've done and look at what they need to do tomorrow, wrap it up. You want to end with the prosecutor because they're sleeping on the last thing they heard. You don't want to end with the defense.
Interesting.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.